Hello and welcome to this week's video. And a Happy New Year as well. I hope you all had a good one. This week's video is a bit all over the place, mostly because I was traveling and it was New Year's. I originally planned to make a video about how to study Japanese while traveling, but that kind of went out the window for now. For a quick update on my own study this week, it mainly came down to doing Migaku and not much else. Apologies. Struggling with a bit of a cold. So instead of forcing a travel study video, I decided to turn this into something a bit more useful long term. My guide on how I would study Japanese in this coming year, 2026. Feel free to just listen in the background and see what you think. So, it's 2026 and you've decided you want to study Japanese. Maybe you're traveling to Japan, maybe it's for fun, maybe it's for work, or maybe you just want to read a book that only exists in Japanese, or maybe, like a lot, you just want to watch anime without subtitles. Whatever your reason, let me walk you through what I would do from day one if I had to start over. This is, I'm going to call an ideal plan. And I really want to be clear about this. This is like a best case scenario, in my opinion. And truly, the only best study plan is the one that fits your life, that keeps studying enjoyable and doesn't burn you out. So don't find something and think, oh, that's the way I have to do it. You need to find a way that works best for you. And I'm just laying out what I think is the best, in my opinion. So, step 1, hiragana and katakana. Let's start with all languages. Let's start with all language learning. Should start the alphabet. In Japanese, there isn't just one alphabet. There are 3 writing systems. We call them hiragana, katakana, and kanji. For step 1, we're completely ignoring kanji. Don't worry about it yet. The goal here is to build a solid foundation, and that means focusing only on kana. Hiragana and katakana are actually very similar. They represent the exact same sounds, but they're used for different purposes. Hiragana is mainly used for native Japanese words, grammar, and verb endings, and particles, basically the core structure of the language. If you see Japanese written normally, hiragana will be everywhere. Katakana, on the other hand, is used for foreign loanwords, names, brands, onomatopoeia. God, I still can't say that word no matter how much I try. And sometimes for emphasis. Words like coffee or computer or foreign names are usually written in katakana. Because the sounds are the same, I strongly recommend you study them at the same time. When you learn a or ka, you can learn together, both. Your brain starts linking them automatically. You stop thinking, this is hiragana or this is katakana, and instead you just read the sound, which is exactly what you want. Time-wise, I'd say spend 2 to 3 weeks. Realistically, it's enough time to spend on this step that you get it, and you don't need to rush it, but you don't want to be stuck here forever. The goal isn't perfection, it's recognition. Ideally, you want to be able to read hiragana and katakana about 90% to 95% of the time without stopping to think. There are also a few extra sounds like dakugen and handakugen, which slightly change pronunciation. For example, turning ka into ga or ha into pa. There are also combo sounds like kya. These aren't new alphabets, just variations. Learn them after you're comfortable with the basics. Once kana stops being a wall, everything else becomes much easier. Step 2 is grammar. Now, I feel like a lot of you thought I was going to talk about kanji here, but nah, that's not yet. Before kanji, before vocab lists, before anything fancy, I think grammar needs to come first, or at least be learned alongside kanji later on. Grammar is the backbone of the language, of any language. Without it, you might recognize words, but you won't understand what's happening in a sentence. The reason I put grammar so early is because of what I consider the best long-term study method, which is reading, whether that be manga or light novels, subtitles, articles. All of these rely heavily on grammar. If you kickstart grammar early on, once kanji comes in, reading becomes way less painful. Japanese grammar is also very different from English. Word order, particles, and verb placement, all of it works differently. Getting comfortable with this early saves a huge amount of confusion later on. For grammar resources, I mainly use 2 things. The first was Tae-Kim's Grammar Guide, and arguably it is one of the best, if not the best, free resource available. It's straightforward, it's beginner friendly, and actually structured in a way that makes sense. Now, I didn't read a lot of it. I read a bit of it, and then I kind of pushed grammar aside, which is why I said this is the ideally best way to study. But you need to read it multiple times. And, you're going to read something, and you're not going to understand it, right? Then you're going to go back, and you're going to read it another day, and be like, okay, it's kind of making sense. And maybe after the third time you read something, you're like, oh, now I have it. The second tool I use, which is my main method of studying grammar, is ChatGPT. My method is super simple. I've talked about it before, I think. I ask it to explain a grammar point, get it to give me example sentences, and then generate practice exercises. I answer them, get graded, and review the explanations, and the feedback loop turns into passive learning, into active learning, which sticks much better. You don't need to copy my setup example, or my setup exactly, or any of the examples, to be honest. You can use Take Him, you can use ChatGPT, you can use both, or you can use whatever you want. The key part is being consistent, not being perfect. Consistency will always beat natural skill and perfection. Once grammar starts clicking, Japanese stops feeling like a random symbols and starts feeling like an actual language. Step 3. Kanji. Ah yes, the big bad wolf kanji. This is the part that scares most people off Japanese, and honestly, I can kind of understand why. There are a lot of kanji, thousands of them, and some of them look similar, some of them have multiple reasons, some of them have multiple meanings, and they can change depending on the context. But here's the thing, kanji makes reading so much easier. Like, here is a line in hiragana. Here's the same line in kanji. Which one do you think is harder to read? Once you start recognizing kanji, Japanese text becomes so much clearer, the words stop blurring together, the meanings start standing out, and you're no longer guessing where one word is ending and the other one begins. Kanji is not something you can brute force though. Memorizing isolated lists is a fast track to burnout, and kanji only makes sense in context. For me, the two biggest tools I have are flashcards and Immersion. Used together, that's important. I watch, read, or listen to something in Japanese. When I find a sentence I like, I keep the kanji inside the sentence on a flashcard. On the back, I'll put the meaning and maybe a short explanation. When it comes to tools, I personally use Migaku, but here's the truth. You don't need fancy apps. If you have a notebook and a pen and a Japanese context with a dictionary, that is more than enough. Kanji is about exposure and repetition, not a perfect system. Everyone has opinions on methods. RTK, Wanikani, sentence binding, handwriting, and honestly, they're all good systems. They're all good methods. But the real question is, which is the one that will work for you and which is the one that you will stick with? Burnout here is the real enemy. Once you find what you enjoy, the real secret is then immersion. But immersion does not mean suffering. Step 4. Repeat and enjoy. And honestly, that's kind of it. Learning Japanese comes down to listening, reading, writing, and showing up consistently. You don't need insane hours. Every day you show up is a bonus. Immersion gets talked about a lot, and while it is important, it's also hard at the beginning. You don't understand anything. Even kid shows can be boring and still difficult. The way I handled this wasn't by forcing understanding. It was by watching anyway. I'd watch something with Japanese audio and Japanese subtitles and look for one thing, one word, one kanji, one sentence. Sometimes I'd pick a kanji just because it looked cool. Slowly, sentence by sentence, things would start opening up. It's slow at first, painfully slow, but it compounds. Like driving a car. You start in first, then second, then suddenly you're flying and complaining about grammar instead of individual words. Immersion doesn't mean understanding everything, and that's important. It means being around the language consistently. Take the things you already enjoy, YouTube, anime, manga, walking, audiobooks, games, and add Japanese to them. Make Japanese a part of your life, not a separate chore. And I'm not an expert. I'm not fluent. I'm still learning and will probably be learning for a long time before I'm comfortable with it. But if you're thinking about starting Japanese this year or restarting after burnout, I want you to know it's doable. You don't need the perfect plan. You don't need to just start. You just need to start. Start, repeat, enjoy the process. Find something that works for you. Find something you like and just, do it. Like, that's, you know, when you're gonna have good days, you're gonna have bad days, you're gonna have fast days, you're gonna have slow days, but that's all fine. Just find something that works for you, get to it, study a bit, stay consistent, and eventually everything compounds onto each other, and you're speaking Japanese. And that's it. So I really hope this video helped. Even just one person. And, you know, it's also just a thing of like, it's enjoyable to learn something. Especially because we all learn stuff in school, but it's not the same. When you start to learn something on your own and you hit milestones, it's so enjoyable. So, I hope you all had a very nice New Year's. I hope you all have a lovely 2026. And I hope it's a year of good study or whatever. So, thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next one.